Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This guy right across the side from me, he's Tim, and this is the Second Legacy, and thank you for stopping by. Today, we have got the greatest episode, gold medal level mental gymnastics coming out of a district court in Colorado around your waiting periods for your gun rights, because it turns out, guys, there's many reasons why it's totally normal. This is going to blow your minds. Let us know what you guys think in the comments field below. Of course, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and with that, Tim, how you doing, my man? We got mental gymnastics. Are you ready? Are you warm? You got your headband?
We got the special gymnastics going on, the special mental gymnastics going on today, I think. This is amazing. You know, when you get these, it's one thing when politicians are doing mental gymnastics. It's kind of their job to be stupid, right, and say dumb things. But when the courts jump in on the party and they start doing mental gymnastics and saying extremely stupid things, things that, whether you agree or not with their agenda, just listening to what they're saying and how moronic it is, you have to go, oh, wow. You almost feel sorry for the person. Like,
this is impressive. This is impressive. Yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait to get into all of these because I have such high expectations for the commentary here. All right. So let's set the table for the people of the Second Legacy. Let me show you guys what we're doing here. So Dr. Button Pusher, number one, this is in the United States District Court for the District of Colorado. And we all know Colorado has been lost to the lefties. This is Rocky Mountain Gun Owners versus Jared Polis. Jared Polis is the governor of Colorado. Now, he put in place a lot of gun measures. One of them was the 18 to 20-year-old ban that got struck down. One of them was mandatory waiting period. There's lots of stuff they put together. But in this case, we're about to show you the waiting periods. Okay? Just to set this table, check this out. Number two. This is the order denying motion for preliminary injunction. So remember how we always say, Tim, preliminary injunctions are rare. In fact, apparently we were so right and they're so rare that you could do things like this. And anyway, so this is the suit based on the Second Amendment in the United States Constitution. The plaintiffs, Rocky Mountain Gun Owners and Alicia Garcia, challenge a newly effective Colorado statute regulating the commercial sale of firearms. The statute mandates that sellers wait a minimum of 3 days between initiating a background check and delivering a firearm to the purchaser. That's what's at question. And out the gate, Tim, waiting periods are just a form of gun control. I mean, that's exactly what they are.
Oh, absolutely, right? They are. It's designed to make the process of purchasing a firearm so painful that you opt out of exercising your rights because there's no other reason to do it. It's not for safety. You don't need a cooling off period. All these things that they cite as justification for these, they fall flat. There's no evidence to prove any of that. And there is evidence to prove it's just pure harassment. And so, yeah.
Well, it's power, it's control through a tedious application process.
Right.
That they do the exact same thing. For point of reference, they do the exact same thing with FOID cards in Illinois. They do the same thing with licensing schemes where you have to wait and pay these enhanced fees and do these background checks. All these things are designed to make it such a pain in the butt where you go, I'll figure something else out. Right. It's just economics and decision making. That's exactly what it is.
Yep.
But that has not taken away this judge's ability for mental gymnastics. Because are you limber? Are you limber for this? Because there's three things we got to talk about.
So I want to set this up first of all. So just so you guys know, when a court looks at something, they're supposed to look at the law, look at the action, and apply the law to the action, right? But many times when you have activist judges, they have a predetermined outcome they want to achieve. So they don't care what the law is. They don't even care what the action is. All they care about is the outcome. So they're willing to twist everything else to get the outcome that they want. And this is a classic example we're about to show you. Please proceed.
Oh, absolutely. No, I think that was an excellent add-in because you're supposed to work your way from the beginning towards the end.
Right.
These people go from the end and then justify that decision.
Right.
They work backwards.
They twist everything they can to get the outcome they want. So
exactly.
This is glowing
example. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep. So the first one, Tim, it turns out, Tim, that the right to keep and bear arms, while enshrined in the Second Amendment, it is protected. But the right to buy arms, it might not be. So let's go to number 4 and let's dive in here. So the court. You
can't even call it a court with a straight face.
I can't even call it a court. Yeah. So the court clarified that when, quote, bear is used with, quote, arms. However, the term has a meaning that refers to carrying for a particular purpose, confrontation, Tim. So putting all the pieces together, the court found that the text of the Second Amendment guarantees the individual right to possess and carry weapons in case of confrontation. From the reading of the plain text, it is clear that the relevant conduct impacted by the waiting period, the receipt of a paid for firearm without delay, is not covered. So, did you notice that he added in there, Tim? It's not just the right to keep and bear arms, because now there's an intent of confrontation. So therefore, because that's the intent that he determined, now there could be a waiting period, because obviously the intent was there after he just added it.
I mean, how do you comment on that stupid? Again,
well, that's a good point.
I've said this before. To understand these people, you seriously have to dumb yourself down to try to put yourself in the same mindset that these morons are putting themselves in, or that they're just naturally in. It's a natural state of being for them, I think. And you really run the risk of making yourself permanently ignorant. And so I just want the people of Second Legacy to know that we run the risk of making ourselves permanently mentally deficient by trying to understand these morons and break down their stupidity for you. I hope you appreciate the sacrifice. Anyway,
it's the risk. It's the sacrifice.
It's the sacrifice.
Yes. It is. It's terrible. Well, so I'm
going to be hiding my own Easter eggs next year because of these people. I swear.
You should be hiding your own Easter eggs, and you might win. Either way. So now we've established that the intent is seriously confrontation, Tim. It's not any other reason. It's all about confrontation.
It is.
So
Yes.
With that in mind, let's go to number 5, because remember, confrontation. Seemingly recognizing this fact, plaintiffs contend that the right to keep arms necessarily implies the right to possess arms one has acquired. But the purchase and delivery of an object, here a firearm, is not an integral part of keeping or having or bearing that object. Rather, purchase and delivery are one of means of creating the opportunity to have the weapons. The relevant question is whether the plain text covers that specific means, and it does not. So, Tim, all this time, the gun controllers, they could have just done it this way. It makes so much sense.
Just ban the purchasing.
Bear arms.
We're not saying you can't have guns. If you have them, you can keep them. What we're saying is you just don't have a right to buy them. You know, our founding fathers are laying in their graves right now, and they're like, hey, Tom, check this one out, bro. Like, why didn't we? I mean, we could. Thomas Jefferson joke. Anyway, so
I get it.
So it's like, wow, how do they get there? I just, and what's funny is they're sticking with this. You would think this is like a Saturday Night Live skit, but they're serious about this. And so maybe this will change the way we do business as gun dealers, right? And gun shops around America. You don't have a right to purchase one, but hey, if you have one, or you may find out that you have possession of one, then apparently it's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to pay money for you to come into an area. There may or may not be the gun that you're looking for laying out there somewhere. And if you pay, say, $500, you may just find the Glock you were looking for. You didn't buy it. You're just buying access to come in and kick grass and look under rocks.
Oh my gosh.
And you may actually find something, so
it's another Easter egg hunt.
Yes, it's just an Easter egg hunt, and so that's got to be constitutional. Anyway.
Right, because you're no, Tim, you're onto something. Seriously, dude, you are the policy machine behind Second Legacy. So that you have a valid point, because according to this judge, keeping and bearing is totally covered by the Second Amendment, but buying them is not, because that's purchase and delivery.
Yeah.
So therefore, if you find it and you didn't buy it, that would mean that you are keeping and bearing something that you found. So we're good.
Yeah, see, because when you go to Disneyland and pay $300 to get in the gate or whatever it costs, you're not buying Disneyland. You're just getting access to Disneyland. And what you find in there is just the fun that you get for the day. Well, the same thing with buying a gun now, right? We're just going to give you access to this little Disneyland area. And you may or may not find, what are you looking for today? I'm looking for a new Glock. The new 49 sounds good. Ooh, there might be one in there. Give us $500. You can come around and walk around the grass, look under some of our rocks. You may find what you're looking for. There we go, man. We got it all sorted.
Have it fenced off. Yeah, have it fenced off and secure. Oh, I love this. We'll have an ATF agent manning the little booth. No, this will be great.
Okay, got to poo-poo that one. But anyway,
I was having fun.
But we can dress somebody up like an ATF agent. We just won't give them a badge.
Okay.
All right.
I'll meet you there. And by the way, before we move on to the next level of stupid, because guys, this was just the tip of the ice. This was step 1 of a stupid sandwich. We're about to get to the ice cream. So in conclusion, Tim, I've got to give you some props. I think that solution you just came up with on a policy front was better than your way to get around the national debt with NFA items from France. I think that was better. That was better.
Good.
So props to you. Now we continue on. Get ready for the ice cream in the stupid ice cream sandwich. So we've talked about how the keeping and bearing is one thing, but purchasing is another, according to this judge. Let's jump on number 6, Tim, because I think this is huge too. We really have to. So even if purchasing a firearm could be read into the terms keep or bear, receipt of a firearm without any delay could not be. Wait for it. As the founders would not have expected instant widespread availability of the firearm of their choice. The parties dispute the fact, but I find that expert opinions of the professors on this topic to be convincing. So Tim, this is so novel. This is such a great idea. It turns out that mandatory waiting periods imposed by a state is the exact same thing as waiting for production in the 1700s because economies of scale didn't exist.
So what you're saying is if there's a new firearm coming out, it's not yet on the market, but they're taking money today and they're going to deliver in 90 days, then you don't need to do a background check when you go pick it up because you've been waiting for 90 days.
Or a mandatory waiting period.
Yeah,
right, because that's it. So really, I mean, like, we're being extremely sarcastic.
Oh, dude,
and
we're
pedantic.
just poking holes in their stupidity is all we're doing here, folks.
Yeah, exactly. I just used the word pedantic correctly. I just want to throw that out there for the people.
That's impressive.
I'm just saying, thank you. But yeah, so it turns out that what we're going to do on the gun world is we're just going to start to do pre-releases like video games, and we're just going to buy these things before we do anything else. And then, well, that's the same as a mandatory waiting period, according to this judge in a district court. This is the level of stupid that this is.
Okay. Yeah. The mental gymnastics here are through the roof. I mean, wow. Talk about working backwards, working for that outcome that you want.
It's just insane.
It's staggering. And it's almost like if there were a higher court looking at this, I would reprimand this judge. It's like either you're the dumbest person on the planet or you're making a mockery of our court system. One of the two.
Yep.
Either dumb as dumb gets and you have no business being on the bench, or you're mocking the court system and you have no business being on the bench. Either way, you're dismissed. This guy is a joke. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, like comically bad.
Yeah. So
this next one, and by the way, guys, we still have a third example of stupid in this one decision coming. So number 7 on this one, Tim, to me, I think this is how the conversation should have ended. Because as both parties agree, no law requiring a waiting period was enacted in the United States until 1923. Okay, well, that's not history, text, or tradition. Can we be done now? I got a sandwich waiting. Like, why are we still talking? The guy just said it in his own decision.
Right.
So that's a key point. Because if it's 1923 and you have a Bruen decision to satisfy, which this entire thing is chasing the Bruen decision, which is why he's going to the founders.
Right. And doing all these mental gymnastics.
Yeah. He's just seeking some reason to tie it to the history and tradition because that's what Bruen has done to these people. They are trying to do things like this in order to satisfy getting the decision that they want. So I'm going to throw 8 and 9 real quickly in here. Again, keep in mind, 1923, and this might explain why this guy is doing this. This is number 8. The governor, this is the governor of Colorado, emphasizes that waiting period laws were unnecessary before the early 20th century because a waiting period inherent in the acquisition of firearms already existed for many Americans. As was discussed above, I find the opinions of these professors on the availability of firearms for purchase through the nation's history to be compelling. Even after ordering firearms via postal mail became possible in the 1870s and 1880s, purchasers still had to wait several days before receiving them. So his example, Tim, was going back to mail order firearms through a railway where there were no background checks in place, but that's the same as a background check.
And history and tradition says that those firearms were delivered directly to the homes of the purchasers. There was no formal background check, even though they had to go through this waiting period of it being delivered in the mail. So what you're saying, Your Honor, is that if I decide to buy a gun through the mail, which you're flip-flopping around all over social media saying you can buy a gun without going through a background check, but we're going through a waiting period if we order it through the mail, so we should be able to order guns through the mail and have them delivered to our house as long as it takes 3 days in post. Or 2 days.
Should be good, right?
Or maybe we get the Amazon Prime deal and we can have it there the next day, but it's still waiting.
Yes. This is great, Tim. No, hold on. We're on to something here. We are on gun companies. Take note. I mean, evil manufacturers of dealing death. You guys should take note because if you just put together a pay more now button for mandatory slow delivery, that is now the waiting period.
And you can deliver it straight to the house.
Yeah. And you can deliver it straight via rail car to someone's house. Tim, we're on to something here.
Yeah.
We are on to it. And so if you guys didn't have enough of your daily dose of dumb, I've got one last one, because this is before we get to goofy things that gun grabbers say. This is before that. All right. This is number 10, Dr. Button Pusher. Laws related to intoxication as analogs. Drunk people, Tim. Drunk people. Here we go. So the aim of the Waiting Periods Act is to help prevent impulsive acts of firearm violence, including homicides and suicides. States have long regulated the possession, use, and sales of arms to intoxicated persons, laws which are designed to avoid such impulsive violence. Old intoxication laws avoided or thwarted heat-of-the-moment gun acquisition or use by the intoxicated when they would be much more likely to act rashly, impulsively, and with diminished judgment. Mimic the purpose of modern waiting periods.
You know, what the fun thing about alcoholism is it only happens once generally in your life. You know, you never drink 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row. Most people don't drink every day. It just doesn't happen. So, yeah. I mean, boy, this is making a lot of sense.
It really is. And so far we've got...
I only drink on Monday, so I can buy guns on Tuesday through Friday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because after all, that's mimicking the purpose of modern waiting periods, because people who are drunk can't buy guns, which, by the way, they can't do a lot of things that they're not allowed to do because they're intoxicated, like drive a vehicle.
Right. To go to the gun store.
Lefties really enjoyed talking about. But it turns out, Tim, that every single American across the United States, all 330 million of us, we all have the rashness and impulsivity of a drunk person. And therefore, judging by this decision, we should all have the penalties thus far as well.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter if you can prove that you don't drink alcohol.
Nope.
You still could. And therefore, we're going to, go ahead and impose this waiting period because, you know, it's all ties back to drunk people making rash decisions. Because there's been so many times when I've been mad at something in life and I just decided to, drink all day, then jump in the car and go into town and buy myself a gun.
Exactly.
That happens.
Called the Gambit of Freedom. The Gambit of Freedom. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've dumbed down the people of the Second Legacy enough. I think it's time to move into the next segment of goofy things gun grabbers say, Tim. And this is your baby.
Yeah.
So you take the wheel.
Okay.
Just drive us home.
Here we go. Number 11, Dr. Button Pusher. We have a wonderful post on X from our friends over at March for Our Lives. They claim, oh yes, good folks over there, right? 45% of online gun buyers did not need a background check, and 1 in 9 buyers would have failed a background check if subjected to one for online sales. Funny how this ties into this judge's ruling, but anyway, the online and gun show loophole is critical to close to keep gun manufacturers accountable and the U.S. safe. Now, interestingly enough, they posted this, but they didn't cite their sources. So even more entertaining than this moronic post are the comments. Dr. Button Pusher, number 12, please. Yeah. And this just gives you a snapshot of some of the comments. Now, these are actually captured in order. I just, enlarged my screen and just dragged and dropped and boom. So this isn't me picking these comments. If you go and read this post, you're going to find the vast majority of the comments read just like this one. So first of all, the Queen of Mean will keep her AR-15, tags community notes. This is a blatant fabrication. This is a lie, a complete fabrication. Laughing emoji. How? Where? This is flat out false. Whoever sold these guns should receive a Presidential Medal of Freedom. Love that one. And so you can just go down and you can see people cite your sources. This is false information. Several tags to community notes. Hey, stop these misinformation peddlers. And this is what they do, right? They go out and many times they'll cite their own studies. That's even better.
Oh, every time.
Right?
Every time.
And we get into that with our next one. Okay, so let's move on to Everytown. Dr. Button Pusher, number 13, please. Background checks save lives every single day by keeping guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them. But loopholes in our gun laws allow for gun sellers to sell guns without running background checks, most often online or at gun shows. That needs to change. Yes, because every gun I bought online, and I've bought a lot, I didn't do a background check. It just shipped right to my house. I mean, it's amazing.
Right to your house.
And I'm being facetious.
You didn't go to an FFL. Yeah, you didn't go to an FFL. There was no fee. No. There was no background check done at the pickup place. No, none of that would happen.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. No, it's just totally crazy. It's not like gun stores around America don't bring in, hundreds of transfers, every week for their customers that have purchased something online. Doesn't happen. That's just a complete fallacy. So anyway, the background checks have blocked more than 4 million sales to people prohibited by law from having guns. And they do have a study that they cite. If you go down
which
to
is their own.
number 14, Dr. Button Pusher, Everytown once again. A loophole in our gun laws enables people to bypass background checks. See, they're working on the same narrative every single day, most often at online or gun shows, right? So it's the same narrative. Now, here they cite their study. This is what I talked about earlier. A study found that nearly 1 in 9 people looking online to buy guns would not have passed a background check. Now, I also want to speak to this before we get into the study that they cite, which is their own. the study that they link to is right there at the bottom. Everytownresearch.org unchecked. That's their study. So let me tell you a little bit about being a partner in a gun store. There are many times, it's not all that common, but when a denial takes place, the vast majority, over 90% at our store, the people that get denied are done so falsely. Okay. So that means that they had a name similar to somebody else that had a criminal history. That's most often. In Indiana, many times when a couple is going through divorce, the male automatically gets slapped with an order of protection, which immediately will pop a red flag on a next background check. That happens probably the most often. And all of these, the people go and file an appeal, and guess what? They get their gun. They just have to do weeks, sometimes months of appeals and fight the system, but they finally get their gun. The vast majority wind up getting their gun. 90% of those background checks that come back denied at our store are false, and the owners eventually get their gun going through the process. So they won't tell you that in their study. They'll just show you the numbers, but they won't show you what the actual numbers are in terms of people that ultimately got approved. So,
right. And also holds are a lot more common than denials.
Yeah, holds happen all the time, but that's usually because the NIC system is down, the computer system is down, they're overwhelmed, and they'll just push it off. And that means that they have up to 3 business days to complete the background check. And if that doesn't happen, then the gun store can automatically on that 4th business day hand the gun over to the buyer without waiting for the NICS to get back in touch with them. And that's generally what happens. They just forget about it. They just don't call you back. They just let the clock run down. So yeah, I mean, it's complete bogus.
And that's the Charleston loophole. That's what they call the Charleston loophole.
Yes.
Yep.
So their numbers are made up. That 4 million number is substantially lower, but that 4 million number cites, drum roll please, their own study. Aw. When you can't get the numbers you want, you just go out and make them yourself.
Just fund your own study, man.
Just do your own study.
You destroy the opposition to the CDC, and then you do what you want. It's easy.
You got to love
gun control life.
Yeah, these people are amazing. All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Second Legacy. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys soon.